why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the new Attorney General of the United States. This guy does not mince words. Yes, folks, President-elect Donald J. Trump has officially nominated Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, and the left is just losing it. They're beside themselves right now, and they just can't believe the lineup that Trump has in the building. But it shouldn't be that shocking for them, given that this guy gave Attorney General Merrick Garland the business when they had a talk. This is regarding the sudden changes that were all placed against then former President Donald Trump, charges that seem to have come from higher ups. Watch.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fani Willis' office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
If you make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't, because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't, because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased, rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
Now, I could see why the left is worried, because this guy knows how to ask the right questions. And to be honest, guys, these are questions that are logically sound. And he's proven that he can be a very capable asset to the Trump administration. In a post on Truth Social, the president-elect has said that Matt will end the partisan weaponization of the justice system. But wait, didn't Kamala Harris say that Trump will go after the enemy from within? They kept talking about political prosecutions, and yet we're being told that it won't happen. President Trump also said that if Gaetz becomes the AG, he will protect our borders, dismantle criminal organizations, and restore the faith and confidence of Americans in the justice system. The congressman was also a key person in defeating what Trump has called the Russia hoax, which kind of reminds me of another instance where he just asked the most obvious questions that many of us were asking as well. Questions that not many people in his position would actually put into a query. This one is related to Hunter Biden's laptop that was supposedly held by the FBI for more than 3 years. And as you guys are going to see, he comes out the gate swinging. Watch.
So where is it? The laptop.
Sir, I'm not here to talk about the laptop. I'm here to talk about the FBI cyber program.
You are the assistant director of FBI cyber. I want to know where Hunter Biden's laptop is. Where is it?
Sir, I don't know that answer.
That is astonishing to me. Has FBI cyber assessed whether or not Hunter Biden's laptop could be a point of vulnerability, allowing America's enemies to hurt our country?
Sir, the FBI cyber program is based off of what's codified in Title 18, Title 18, Section 1030, a code which talks about computer intrusions, right, using nefarious intent network.
But you've talked about passwords here. I mean, Hunter Biden's password on his laptop was Hunter02. He drops it off at a repair store. I'm holding the receipt from Max Computer Repair, where in December 2019, they turned over this laptop to the FBI. And what now you're telling me right here is that as the assistant director of FBI Cyber, you don't know where this is after it was turned over to you 3 years ago.
Yes, sir, that's an accurate statement.
How are Americans supposed to trust that you can protect us from the next colonial pipeline if it seems that you can't locate a laptop that was given to you 3 years ago from the first family, potentially creating vulnerabilities for our country?
Sir, it's not in the purview of my investigative responsibilities.
But that is shocking that you wouldn't, as the assistant director of cyber, know whether or not there are international business deals, kickbacks, shakedowns that are on this laptop that would make the first family suspect to some sort of compromise.
And they just pretty much keep going back and forth here with this FBI representative not actually providing any information at all. I guess that's bound to change if Gaetz is actually coming in as the Attorney General, because we need somebody who can ask the tough questions and isn't afraid to get confrontational. Now, like I said, guys, these are common sense questions that Americans want the answer to. So I guess the fear from the deep state at this point is warranted. They don't want somebody like Matt Gaetz in this sort of position, because we got to remember, both the FBI and the DOJ, they try to destroy the congressman, with rumors now spreading that some people are afraid that they're close to losing this position of power. Watch.
What's the reaction inside the DOJ?
Well, Katie, I've gotten 2 different texts from different people at the Justice Department who just used the word insane to respond and react to this potential appointment, and then also questioning whether Matt Gaetz can be confirmed. And one person asked me to research whether anyone had ever been nominated for the post of Attorney General who had been investigated by the Justice Department. We'll have to look into that, but my initial reading is that I can't think of any time that's ever happened in American history. And not only was Gaetz investigated and not charged, we should point out, in a sex trafficking investigation, but he has been perhaps among the top 5 most vociferous critics of the FBI and the Justice Department, and not just critics, but accusing them of being corrupt and weaponized and unethical.
Now, I want to ask you guys about this. Why do you think these government officials are so nervous? Are they confirming that there is some corruption within their ranks? Well, shortly after Donald Trump had actually nominated Matt Gaetz as being the Attorney General, Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, the Republican firebrand from Florida, has announced his resignation from Congress effective immediately. That's right, guys. The announcement was made in a statement read out loud in the House today, and it followed President-elect Donald J. Trump's nomination of Gaetz to serve as the next Attorney General of the United States. This came as a major shock. So it is official. Matt Gaetz, and I quote, "I hereby resign as a United States representative of Florida's 1st Congressional District, effective immediately, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same position in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration of Attorney General," end quote. Gaetz' elevation to the prospective Attorney General posts marks a significant moment in the political trajectory of one's Congress' most polarizing figures. Known for his combative style, blah, blah, blah. So Gaetz, 42 years old, has been a prominent ally of Trump since joining Congress in 2017. But unfortunately, Matt Gaetz is not going to take Trump up on his offer. So we're going to have to see what Donald Trump does from here on out and who he replaces Matt Gaetz with. So a key issue for a president-elect on day one, homelessness in America. In particular, the nearly 186,000 homeless residents in California that the Golden States wants to move indoors. And Trump is all in for it. In fact, our soon-to-be president again pledged on the campaign trail to tackle the encampments that have made cities unlivable by working with states to ban urban camping and arrest those who don't comply, something many cities in California started doing before Election Day, as even their very Democratic governor Gavin Newsom encouraged them to clear camps. As Trump said in the clip earlier, there's nothing compassionate about letting these individuals live in filth and squalor rather than getting them the help that they actually need. And Newsom seems to be in lockstep with him on this one, as the governor ordered state agencies to ramp up encampment suites and even threatened to withhold state funding from cities that fail to do the same. Another campaign promise Trump is already following up, fixing things between Russia and Ukraine. The president-elect held his first post-election call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin last week, and he warned him against ramping up in Ukraine. According to sources from Washington Post of all places, the incoming president took note of U.S. military power in Europe while trying to discourage the Kremlin dictator from intensifying Russia's war in the Ukraine. The day before, Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on the phone as well, although they didn't let us in on the details very much other than Trump assuring Zelensky that he had his support and that Trump's favorite billionaire Elon Musk was also on that phone call. So Trump promised an end to this Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours of his presidency, and from what the two European leaders have said, it looks like they're listening. So first, Putin said that Trump behaved in a very correct way, courageously like a real man. He also said that the desire to restore relations with Russia to bring about the end of the Ukrainian crisis deserves attention at least. Zelensky also praised Trump after his win, saying that they look forward to an era of a strong United States of America under President Donald Trump's decisive leadership and continued strong bipartisan support for Ukraine and the United States. So that makes two campaign promises that Trump's already delivering on. But of course, let's not forget the last and definitely not the least, the border crisis and the effects of cartels on American families. Trump's recent announcement that his administration will seize the assets of criminal gangs and drug cartels and give the proceeds to families affected by migrant crime. So basically, they're talking about the money seized from these operations would create a compensation fund for victims of crimes committed by those in the U.S. illegally. The former New York DEA chief, Ray Donovan, said that the Trump idea would add a powerful layer of support by redirecting money and assets seized from criminal organizations involved in drug trafficking, gang violence, and other harmful activities. He said that this approach would not only disrupt criminal enterprises, but it would also provide direct aid to those impacted by such violence. Derek Maltz, the former chief of DEA Special Operations Division, called it a great way to pay back victims that have been hurt by these savages that have come illegally into the country and operate with impunity. More importantly, for Maltz, it would be a great way to unite American citizens. I mean, Trump knows business, so it's not exactly a surprise that he can come up with these ideas and also execute on them super fast. Like I said, guys, a breath of fresh air coming in just as they're about to drain the swamp. You know what I mean? I definitely agree with the president-elect. We definitely should not have any homeless elderly on the streets, especially when they're our very own veterans, right? You know who else agrees with our soon-to-be 47th president of the U.S.? The very liberal governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Now, as he said just this September, there is no compassion in allowing people to suffer the indignity of living in an encampment for years and years. And this was just before he signed a package of a housing bill. You see, Trump can work with Democrats regardless of what many of his liberal haters have to say. The one group that Trump is not going to work with, though, is Mexican cartels. As former ICE Director Tom Homan said, Trump will designate these criminal groups as a terrorist organization. Watch.
Message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggled enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization, and he's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done. You're done.
And guess what, guys? Even these cartels know that our president-elect means business. In fact, they're already bracing for the border crackdown that's sure to come under President Trump. Here, watch this.
Three busy border sectors, the Tucson, El Paso, and Del Rio sectors, to see what is happening as these border states await the new Trump presidency. Border correspondent Allie Bradley joins us live. Allie, what are you hearing in these border towns now that the election's over?
Yeah, hey, Elizabeth, we're already seeing things actually ramping up here. So where we are, we're now in the El Paso sector. We're in Sunland Park. This is technically New Mexico. We are literally standing on the border with Mexico. So this is Mexico right here. This is where the wall ends. You can see the boundary here. The wall just ends. These people are running across. We just saw a guy literally clear these railroad tracks and disappear off into that community over there, which is Sunland Park. Now, when we come back around here, Chris, let's show them up here what this ridge looks like. So, you guys, we've been watching smuggling vehicles and smugglers up on this ridge. This is where we see them operate every day that we're down here. And these are kind of like makeshift stash houses. They're going to bring illegal immigrants in there, leave them in there for a couple hours until they have clearance, basically to a green light to go. And then they'll send them down and they run into that community. So speaking of stash houses, look what we experienced yesterday in the Tucson sector. This is another busy sector here as we visit 3 sectors in 3 days. We were there as Law enforcement were searching a home. We're actually carrying out a warrant, a search warrant. You can see their guns drawn here. You can see in this situation in Cochise County where human smuggling is ramping up, these people were in a stash house. So there was 9 individuals from Mexico in a detached garage in the back. Now, this detached garage couldn't have been bigger than a 1-car garage. 9 people were in there, 3 women, 2 juveniles. There was clothes scattered all over the place, food discarded. The smell was just putrid. It was pretty intolerable, and these weren't conditions that you would wish on your worst enemy. So what is happening there? We were only about 100 yards from the border wall. Take a listen to what the sheriff had to say about what the cartel is doing and what they're going to be doing.
They're going to push hard right now, the cartels. They know they have to. They have a president coming in that's made it very clear, and based on his track record, he will secure this border. He'll declare it an emergency based on what we've had for the last 4 years, and which means it'll seal that border. So the cartels aren't stupid. It's a business. They're going to be pushing their dope through here, their illicit drugs, you name it, to include trafficking people, smuggling people.
I mean, finally, right, guys? A president that puts Americans first again. Definitely a breath of fresh air after draining the swamp, if you know what I mean. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. And, you know, whether it's Donald Trump that ends up winning the election or if it's Kamala Harris, oh, God, we're in a world of a pickle, as my grandfather would say. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And it's kind of funny because where I used to work with a lot of married men. And a lot of those married men would always complain about their spouses as if they really just didn't even like their spouses, which is sounding like a pretty horrible situation. But that was the case for many of them. They didn't like who they were married to. But I was different. Anyway, through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. But anyway, guys, switching gears here, mainstream media is also feeling a little bit nervous as of late. Now, I covered this in a previous video, guys, where CNN's Dana Bash gets into a very public argument with Republican Congressman Jim Jordan. Make sure you check that video after this one, guys. In the meantime, just want to thank y'all so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.